So I have been somewhat hesitant to speak about Ebola, um, but I feel compelled. One, because the situation isn't getting any better, and two, because I'm a medical professional. So I'm also disturbed by how we've been responding, really as a West in the West, the way we've seen this thing. So obviously, most of you, I'm sure, are aware of how intense this thing is. Um, the potential really for this to become kind of pandemic is there. Not to say that we need to panic and respond as we have in the United States with um, crazy things that we've been doing. So Ebola, kills anywhere from 35 to 90% of the people that are affected by it, infected with it. Causes massive loss of almost every fluid from the body. So vomiting, diarrhea, urination, loss of control of those things. And then on top of that, hemorrhaging internally and externally, which is, not pleasant. But honestly, if you're thinking about this, put yourself in the shoes of the virus. Actually kind of really genius if you're a virus that it only spreads through contact with bodily fluids. If you have a mechanism where you cause massive loss of vital fluids as one of your symptoms, that's kind of smart from a survival of the fittest kind of mentality. Like, yeah, you're gonna spread that way. You're gonna make sure you spread because your symptoms help you spread. So my instructor in medical school for microbiology was actually a virologist. Go Jeff. Still remember those principles. So yeah, this is dark, morbid Jen joking about something really serious, but it's a coping mechanism, guys. Anyways, yeah, the virus is pretty intense. But what's troubling for me, and hopefully for you, is the fact that our response in the States has been really to kind of ignore a lot of this. This started back in March, this particular epidemic. It's been going on for a long time, from an epidemic kind of standpoint. And only, September, October, once we had a case in Dallas, and then, a couple of nurses that were affected from that case, and then this physician coming back from volunteering with Doctors Without Borders in New York, and all of New York wants to shut down, close the borders. Okay, not all of New York. Some politicians in New York wanted to quarantine, mandatory quarantine, anybody coming back from West Africa for 21 days, seriously violating human rights. And on top of it, no medical basis really to make this decision. It was a political move, and has since been, I think, revoked, at least on the part of New York City. And New Jersey, it looks like, has let this. There was a nurse that was being detained who tested negative for the virus, did not have symptoms, but yet was detained. Ridiculous. So that's just kind of a picture of the panic that's been going on in the U.S. And juxtapose that next to the fact that you had a 2-year-old child who traveled about the same time across Guinea on public transportation in the third world, which, if you've traveled in the third world, you probably can guess that bus was likely incredibly crowded, people hanging off the top of it, off the sides of it, sitting on one another's lap, standing. Every potential space being used with and filled with human bodies typically is how it works in the third world. And so you have a 2-year-old who has symptoms, who's bleeding, nosebleeds, and losing bodily fluids while she's traveling across Guinea into Mali, potentially spreading the virus to literally probably hundreds of people. But where are we focused in this country? Where's all the news media? I mean, the case in New York, who was a physician who knew exactly what to do and followed all the protocols and did not have any symptoms until he came down with a fever, and then quarantined himself, contacted the health department or the Doctors Without Borders, had them come get him and move him to isolation. I mean, did all the right steps, and we're in a panic over the fact that he rode the subway, the A train, and he went to a bowling alley. I mean, come on, people. You know, we're one of the wealthiest countries in terms of health facilities. We have large amounts of money in our healthcare system, with hospitals and physicians and clean water and food and you know, and we're comparing this to a scenario in Africa is that you have people living in really small spaces, one room, dirt floored, tiny hovel type situations with 25 people living there when someone is has Ebola and is spreading fluids all over the place, and they're not able to keep clean because, well, they don't have running water, electricity, clean food, etc. And we are worried that our walls need to be bigger, that our airports need to screen more readily. I mean, this is disturbing. This is disgusting to me, that this is how we operate. We throw compassion out the window and selfishly focus on, oh my gosh, is there going to be a case here, 2 cases here, and rather than pouring resources into Guinea, into Liberia, into Sierra Leone, and now Mali. This is disturbing. Where's our compassion? Where's our willingness to go and travel and help these people? Do we think that somehow we're not connected to the rest of the human race? I mean, do we think we're somehow special and that we deserve more than the poor African who has nothing, largely because we've potentially behaved in such a manner where we've used up all these resources from the planet? I mean, so this whole Ebola thing is, in my opinion, a picture of how we're out of balance from a humanitarian standpoint, from a social justice standpoint. There's a disease process going on globally, certainly in the West, and that disease process, in my mind, is killing us. It's killing our souls. It's crushing our souls. We are selfishly going about our lives, only focused on self. And this is something that we can do something about. We can move to change who we are. We can embrace the idea that really it isn't just merely about me, and we need to do that. So I think Ebola is a call to action. Yes, we need to send resources and people on the ground to these countries in West Africa. We need to move rapidly to change things as best we can or address this problem. And we need to ask ourselves some difficult questions about why we're so focused on our one little case in New York or our 3 cases in Dallas, rather than the 1.2 million that the number is likely to hit of number of infections come January or February of this upcoming year.